We measure people, with our neuro check. We do a scan with them. 90% of all people are 60% delta, which tells us that their brain is inflamed, their body is inflamed, and they want to go to sleep.
When you sweat from a place of parasympathetic, of deep relaxation, you are meditative, you're in theta brainwave pattern. That sweat is wonderfully detoxifying, and that's valuable for inflammation because we're actually giving our kidneys a break. Reduction in inflammation is immediate. Anywhere from a 50 to 100% reduction in soreness, tension, tightness, pain from people who just hop in this thing for 5 to 7 minutes.
Welcome to the Brain Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick Porter. Please join us on our mission to better a billion brains. Enjoy the episode and remember to share it with your family and friends.
Ryan, we're talking about saunas and what we can do. And you know that I'm a big advocate because I use mine every morning. And when I can, I travel with it. I love using the sauna and I love using with BrainTap. But we're going to be talking about all things, why the sauna is so important, how it works for brain health, but also for body health, lowering inflammation. And we have some exciting news about how we're going to be adding some content into the BrainTap protocol. But first, let me tell them a little bit about your history and us together. A few years back, it's been probably almost 10 years, maybe 12 years. I don't know, maybe more than that. Back in 2010, I think we got together and a friend of ours, Josh Bailey, introduced us together and we started working together at different events and conventions. And you've been out there helping people to discover ways to improve and maximize their health. And you help BrainTap, and now you're out there helping Relax Saunas, which I'm a big advocate of. I've known Phil for as long as you, maybe a little bit longer, even when he used to live in San Francisco area. But I love what he's doing. I love what you're doing. So tell us a little bit about what you're up to right now and why you're involved with Relax Saunas.
Yeah. So hi, everyone. I'm Ryan today. And once again, it's just a pleasure to be here with you, Dr. Porter. I've been using BrainTap. I've been using Dr. Porter's tech since 2004. It was a big part of my healing journey and learning how to own and work with my own natural body rhythms, my own natural biorhythms, my brainwave patterns. And so I'm very grateful to you. My family's very grateful to you. And it's been an honor to get to know you and become get so close and to learn so much together. I'm with Relax Saunas in terms of being their science director. I closed my private practice down in December of last year so I could partner with them a little more full time. And I did that because, as you know, I've been a big fan of sauna work as well. I've been using saunas for a very long time. And when I met Phil, he told me about his sauna and how it's different. I looked at it. I'm like, it's just a little tent. How can this thing outperform my $5,000, sauna that I have? Like, I just didn't believe it. But I took one home with me. And I tried one out at the event and I noticed that it was warm immediately. That was the first effect. I'm like, okay, this thing gets warm pretty fast. That's cool. But then I took it home and I felt the difference. I realized that it wasn't just a marketing pitch, the things that he was telling me about why it's different. And that really kind of got my brain going. And as you know, I've got the brain of an engineer and the heart of a healer. So I started digging into the science of what they had. I love Phil, but they don't even really know what they have. Their technology is so much more advanced. The semiconductor chip that they use to power their sauna is light years beyond any other kind of sauna technology. And as a matter of fact, you can use it in ways you can't use saunas. So yes, you can use the Relax sauna as a sauna, but there are things you can do with it you can't do with other saunas. And so I'm just really glued in on the science of this as the science director. I'm actually really excited the company just invested in me having a full-time executive assistant as well as a chief science officer to help me do the heavy lifting and the science work, doing a lot of work to ultimately my goal here is I believe that I can win a Nobel Prize for the scientists who invented this semiconductor chip because the type of light that this thing makes is so radically different and it's so healthful for humans. I think it truly deserves a Nobel Prize. And so I'm on the work to establish this as like one of the most amazing, ultimate adjunctive therapies that you can possibly find. So that's my goal. That's why I'm here. And I just absolutely love the tech.
Yeah. And we're here talking with Ryan and we were just at an event together and I said, hey, you know what? I use mine every morning. I was trained by the Maharishi, so I have a TM meditation I do my 30-minute TM meditation inside the sauna, and it's a pretty cool experience. I do breath work inside of it. I know we use BrainTap with it. there's all sorts of different things you can do with it. It's a fantastic piece of technology. And you said, hey, we're doing a special. We can offer the BrainTap audience a special promotion, right? You said that if they can use the term BrainTap when they check out at Relax Sauna, which we're going to put below in the comments, we'll put the links so you can go to it. If you put BrainTap in there before November 30th, you're going to get a $200 discount, which is phenomenal. Now, this is something that we have at our clinic. We have one of the Relax Saunas here, because if you're out there working with TBIs and you're working with concussions and things like that, you really don't want their head getting hot. So can you tell us a little bit about what's going on there? Because a lot of our brain tappers are doing it because they've had injuries to their brain. And I love the big saunas. I love, doing that. But like you said, we get such great results with this pop-up sauna, and it's like 1/5 the cost, maybe even less than that. So with the discount. So tell us a little bit about what's going on there.
Yeah, so it is wildly different technology, and I'm glad that you were able to clue into that quickly. Obviously, being a student of your own body, you obviously understood the felt difference in it. So what's going on here in terms of the head being out? One of the reasons why you want to have your head being out is it's more comfortable. It really is. Comfort matters. 2, you don't want to heat the brain. You don't want the head should not be getting hot, especially when we're dealing with kids, with people with autism, with neural inflammation, whether that neural inflammation is from a TBI, it's from autoimmune, it's from other conditions. You want to reduce the inflammation on the brain. So you want a cool head and hot heart, hot abdomen. You want to get your core body temperature raised, not just your skin raised. So having your head out not only allows you to be more comfortable, it reduces the inflammation on your brain. It allows all the goodness. You're still getting all the therapeutic treatment to your body, but also you're not in an enclosed environment where you're breathing in and consuming all the oxygen in the space. So the environment stays oxygen rich. And that's a big one of the benefits to us. We can get into this more a little bit later, but we just finished a pilot study showing 20 minutes in the silver sauna increased skeletal muscle oxygenation. So oxygen to the soft tissues. For if you have a traumatic brain injury or any injury, oxygen is critical for healing, hence hyperbaric chambers. So 28% increase in skeletal muscle oxygenation in 20 minutes. The black sauna, which is the same generators, just a thicker fabric, does the same thing, just a little bit faster. 20 minutes in the black tent sauna, 36% increase to skeletal muscle oxygenation. So that oxygenation really, really matters for your recovery, for your rejuvenation, for deep healing. But then lastly, you're not retoxing. You're not breathing in the same stuff you've been breathing out. The whole point of going into the sauna is to detox. And we detox not just through our sweat, but we detox through what we breathe. And so you're breathing out these elements that you don't want to breathe back in. So having your head out is dramatically more comfortable. It's more healthful for your head, for your brain health. It's also more detoxifying, and it increases more oxygenation to your tissues. And that's just one of the things that makes this different.
Yeah, I'm not sure who said it, but somebody said, "Let me raise the temperature and I'll cure all disease," or something like that. There's a quote out there. Do you know who said that? I mean, I should have asked you before we got on the air. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I've heard that many times. I think I've heard Phil use it in his talks. But can you tell me who said that? And then tell me a little bit why raising core temperature is so important for health.
Yeah, so it was Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine. It said, find me a way to create fever and sweat, and I will cure disease. And there's a reason why all ancient cultures, think about this, nearly every ancient culture had a form of raising a person's core body temperature through some type of heat therapy. Native Americans had it. They had them in Africa. They had them in South America. They have them in Europe, where saunas have been popularized. But every culture had ways of doing this. Because the ancients, they being more students of their bodies, they understood the effect that it had of getting your body warm. Now, what's different is that you can get hot, but that's not the same as raising your core temperature, right? So you can go exercise and you can get hot, but the sweat you produce when your brain is exercising, or you just go outside into a hot room. Someone's like, "Ryan, why don't I just go exercise? If I need to sweat to heal, why don't I just exercise? Why don't I just go out into the sun? I live in Arizona. Why don't I just go sit out in the sun?" Well, here's why. When you just get hot, the purpose of that sweat is to cool you down, especially if you're in your beta brainwave pattern. If your sympathetic is active, the purpose is to get you cool, to cool your body down. So the sweat and the hot heat is a thermal stress reaction. So when you go into a traditional sauna, a dry sauna or a steam sauna, it's warming you up from the outside in. And that's still healthful. But there is a difference in the quality of sweat. There's a difference in the metabolic function when processes when you have a fever. So think about the last time you got sick and you were sweating. The purpose of that sweat was not to cool you down. Your body's working hard to generate body heat to get your fever up. The purpose of that sweat is purely to detoxify, to kill off the parasites, kill off the bacteria, the viruses, the other things that are inside you, and to not only kill them off, but then sweat them out, to get that metabolic burden that is inside us, outside of us. That's the purpose of that sweat. And that was one of the first things that I noticed with the Relax Sauna and why it was so different. Is it may sound gross, but being a student of my own body, I would often collect my sweat and look at it in a cup to see what's coming out. What am I getting out of me right now? And looking at that. When I jumped in the Relax Sauna the first time, I noticed that the sweat was noticeably milkier. There's stuff in it. And anybody can test this now. You can go sit in a normal sauna, go sit in any other sauna, $5,000, $10,000 sauna, doesn't matter. Go sit in this sauna, and you'll notice that the sweat coming out has more stuff in it, because what's going on is that we're the only ones that are using a very specific type of light. We can get more into this later on, but this light goes so much deeper into the tissues that it's actually hitting bone. We're not warming it from the outside in. We're even using standard infrared, which goes millimeters into the skin. We're using a light wave that goes 4 centimeters. So we're going nearly up to 3 inches deep into the body. So we're going deep enough to hit bone and truly honor the dream of Hippocrates, which is to raise core temperature from the inside out.
What I love about it is I love ancient traditions and modern technology, right? So used to be that when the Indians or whoever's doing these sweat lodges would get together, and of course heat from a fire does put off some infrared, but nothing like this. I mean, you'd have to sit in there, and we all know that there's been some scuttlebutt in the news about how dangerous that those sweat lodges are, because you're in a group setting and you have one way in, one way out, and they force you to do it. This one you can zip out anytime you want. You can wipe off your brow if you need to. I love the flexibility that it has. If you don't feel like you can stay for the whole time, you stay until you break a sweat, get out, keep building up until you can do it. But the reality is that the whole thing is about getting that experience. And people are having these experiences because when you have those toxins that are locked in your body, there's a saying that I love, it's the issues are in the tissues. So how do you get those issues out of the tissues? Now, we all know we could use hypnotherapy, relaxation, BrainTap, positive psychology, all of these wonderful things, but we've got to get our physiology involved, because this is a way to amplify that. So tell us a little bit about the connection between, what is the after effect, the afterglow, that we call the halo effect of using a sauna. Tell me what's happening with the body.
Yeah. So what's, and you're spot on. What's happening in the body is the body's doing more of what it would naturally do. You're literally feeding the body more of its own natural wavelength. We are all infrared beings, right? We're all emitting infrared. In that way, it's not a trite or metaphysical statement to say that we are light beings. We all emit infrared. And so that infrared that we emit, when somebody is not feeling well, their cells aren't vibrating very well. So the amount of infrared, the quality of infrared that they're producing isn't at the same wavelength that it would be when somebody is glowing, they're vibrant, you can see it in them. So what we're doing here, and that's what makes us different, is it took the company 10 years to figure out how to block all of the infrared spectrum, except the infrared band that we naturally emit. So it's like body heat amplifiers. And so because of that, you get a really strong afterglow, even with just 5 to 7 minutes with your clothes on. You don't even have to sweat in this thing for a therapeutic effect. As I mentioned earlier, you can do things with this you can't do with other saunas. So you can literally leave your clothes on, jump in for 5 to 7 minutes, and that's enough to produce some powerful physiological responses, including parasympathetic activation. People are calmer. They have more clarity of mind. Pain and inflammation is reduced. Soreness, tension, muscle tightness. We get lymphatic flow. All of these things happen. And so the afterglow is because the wavelength we have is so much longer that those longer wavelengths go deeper into tissues. So we're going up to inches into the body, and we're treating all of that viscera. Like you said, you need BrainTap in your life, but the Relax Sauna is going to work on the viscera component of that. What is that physiological component? So it's going to resonate. It's going to go deep, and it's going to resonate the cells of your body, get everything moving, getting everything vibrating. And from that vibration, shocker, Patrick, if you feed the body more of its own natural energy, not just energy, but if you feed the body more of its own natural energy, it'll do more of what it will naturally do.
That's great. And we're here talking with Ryan, who's expressed to BrainTap, if you buy this before November 30th, you actually get a $200 discount off the sauna. We're going to have that link below. So hopefully if you can get to the website that you're watching this, or if you're listening to it in your car, it's Relax Saunas, spelled RelaxSaunas.com/BrainTap. It'll take you right to making sure that you get that special. And if you're listening after November 30th, not to worry, you still get $100 off. And what I like to tell people, a lot of people that we know now, because we've got into this biohacking, back in the 80s when I started in Phoenix, doing therapy with my dad and things, we didn't know we were doing biohacking. But now we're finding out that this is called biohacking. So we're going to all these biohacking conferences. People are doing different things and taking different supplements, and they're all great. I mean, if they work for you and you can measure them and they work, that's wonderful. But one thing I love about the Relax Sauna is this is something you can do every morning. And if you're doing a cold plunge, because cold plunges are now becoming so popular, after that cold plunge, you can do the sauna, or even before the cold plunge, you can do the sauna. And this is something that they used to do in Switzerland and places like that, right? They'd have their hot tub and they'd have their cold tub and things like that. So can you tell us a little bit about what's going on there when you're challenging the physiology by doing these different temperatures?
Yeah, so generally the general term for it is called Hormesis, as opposed, which is a physical stress. We're stressing the body, which is healthy, right? I mean, if you just laid on the couch all day, you would atrophy. We have to stress the body to a certain degree. Too much stress, we're going to do more damage than good. But we want to stress the body, stress the nervous system. A lot of people are talking, obviously, about parasympathetic nervous system and the need for us all to relax deeper, which is absolutely true. But on the other side of that is stronger sympathetic activity, right? Getting the sympathetic active and the parasympathetic to increase what they call vagal tone, the tone and the relationship between your ability to get stressed, make things happen, make something happen in life, go perform at a high level, then drop down into parasympathetic, the relationship between the two. So that's really what's the key thing of what's going on is exercising the nervous system, exercising the cardiovascular system from that shock. There's also a mental strength component of just the process of going through it. It builds a certain amount of mental strength for mental fitness. The other thing is that you're actually also compounding detox as well, because that's both cold and heat can generate what are called heat shock proteins, HSPs. Now, there's over 1,200 studies on saunas just in PubMed alone, the government research database. But if you type in heat shock proteins, there's 88,000 articles, 88,000 research articles on heat shock proteins and their positive benefit in human health. And so those shock proteins, again, are generated from heat, as the name indicates, but they can also be generated from cold. So not only are we exercising the nervous system, exercising the cardiovascular system, exercising our mental capacities, but we're also, of course, now we're also generating even more shock proteins. And we have a lot of cold plunge places that are switching over to us because yes, you can use the Relax Sauna before you jump into the cold plunge for that contrast therapy, but nothing else can get you warm and get your core temperature back up again the way that this can. So you'd always, generally speaking, you want to wrap up on a cold session because now your body's going to be burning that off for a while. But yeah, the ability just to jump back and forth, get your core raised. And if you've experienced saunas or heat therapy and then you do a cold plunge, you haven't experienced it until you try the Relax Sauna, because it's different when your skin gets hot versus when your core actually gets hot. When that light goes so deep everywhere all at once. I didn't mention that, but that silver lining you see on the tent, everybody, makes it like a little mirror box. So the far infrared light comes all around you. Unlike a normal sauna, you have panels that just beam the lights at the sides of your arms. So using this with contrast or cold therapy is really powerful because this is the only sauna where you're getting that light therapy everywhere all at once because of that silver reflective design. So we're going from an environment where all of us is being treated at once Then we're jumping into a cold plunge where all of us is being treated at once. So that combination of raising your core, getting everything heated up nice and evenly, deeply, then that cold exposure, nothing can beat it. You just have to experience this, folks. If you haven't done that, you'll be grateful.
When we talk about luminescence, because this is something people are looking at, when a woman's pregnant or when you're really happy, people go, you're glowing. Well, the reality is you are emitting that light, right? They've done studies, especially during COVID, where they showed people who are in a state of gratitude, love, and peace were actually emitting 200 times more light. Now, this is all being done by the mitochondria. Now, a lot of people watching this will already know what mitochondria is, but some people don't understand that also controls your metabolism. That mitochondria absorbs light energy and transmits light energy. So if you don't have enough energy, you become really an energy vampire because you're going to try to suck it off everybody else you're around. But if you become a gainer, we call them drainers, right? There's also gainers, those people that you get around and you just feel energized. So this energizes at a cellular level. So when I tell people you need to feed the cells, this is like food for the cells, because you can also, obviously you can drink coffee and put butter in it and all the things like that. And that's a long way to go, right? You digest it and 4 hours later you get the energy, although psychologically people think they get it right away. And maybe with caffeine, you do get a bump, pretty much right away. But the reality is the cells don't get the reality of it for a long time. But this, you get it right away. And this is what our body gets, because most people don't realize in the Vedas, they actually write, when I was over in India and I was talking to Dr. Vivek Sharma, the head of physiology, and we were talking about light therapy and we were putting together a talk together. He says, in the Vedas, they talk about if you have a problem with your mental wellness, they would have you go outside and get into your environment 2 hours before sunrise, because that's when the most infrared light hits the planet. So, wow. Now you can sit in an infrared sauna whenever you want. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wake up 2 hours early. You can wake up at 9 o'clock if you want. And you can jump in the sauna for 30 minutes. And it's a lot more powerful, actually, than getting outside for 2 hours. So tell us a little bit about how the mitochondria work with this light energy. And maybe tell us a little bit about this specialized diode that you have that's creating this light.
Yeah, so the mitochondria, first off, folks, have you even thanked your cells today? Have you even thanked your mitochondria today for all the good they're doing for you? No matter how much we beat up on ourselves, our cells are amazing and they're doing everything they can to assimilate nutrients, produce energy, and eliminate waste. So assisting the mitochondria comes from the cellular detoxification effect, the whole systemic effect. So those heat shock proteins I mentioned before, those are critical. They're known as molecular chaperones. And so they will literally be able to assist that cell in binding to waste and escorting it outside of the cell wall safely. As a matter of fact, all living creatures, even single-celled organisms, have the ability to give themselves a fever to generate heat shock proteins. Think about that. A single-celled organism can vibrate and generate enough body heat inside itself with its mitochondria producing that energy. Specifically so, the mitochondria can have those heat shock proteins to assist in getting the waste out of its cell. So now it has the room to assimilate new nutrients, produce more energy, and have a space and have a process for getting it out. Because if that cell gets backloaded with waste, that mitochondria has no room, it has no energy to do what it needs to do. So that's one way that we support mitochondrial health, is through that deep cellular detoxification effect. And again, everywhere all at once, super deep into the tissues, not just in a couple areas in our arms. And the other way is just through the innervation effect, right? When you vibrate something or you move something, you innervate it, you shake it. So it's naturally producing more ATP. And so the actual direct energy response. So we're supporting the mitochondria in a couple ways. One of them is through the innervation and vibrating and generating more energy on its own. And then two, helping to create a better environment so that mitochondria can do its work for you. And that's because of, as I mentioned, that special, the semiconductor chip that we use. We have a patent on in 4 countries: China, Japan, US, and Germany, because as I mentioned, it took us a long time to figure out how to create this specific band of light, which for those of you who are geeks, we're talking 7,000 to 14,000 nanometers specifically. So that's the wavelength that we produce. We produce that because, as you mentioned before, ancient technologies and ancient wisdom. It was actually the government of Japan that originally commissioned the technology. Japan wanted to know what makes our southern hot springs so healing. They knew that all their hot springs are healing. Japan is littered with hot springs. They're all healing. But something about the southern ones, that even wounded warriors would travel past other hot springs to get to the southern ones, because they knew if they made it there, their likelihood of survival was much higher, but they'd also heal so much quicker. And so they wanted this technology for their troops, obviously, for their people. So the scientists they sent there figured out that the minerals there are unique. Japan's already known for unique minerals already, right? The metal that comes out of Japan is just world class. But the minerals in those hot springs were different in that they emitted more infrared, not just broad spectrum infrared. They emitted more infrared specifically in this tight band. That's what clued them into saying, that's the band right around how the natural human cell resonates. That led them to the hypothesis that if you give the cell, you give the mitochondria more of its own natural energy, not just energy, but more of its own natural wavelength of energy, it will do more of what it would naturally do. And so then it took them from 1987 to 1997 to figure out, how do we reproduce the effect of this sacred hot spring and put that into people's homes? And that's the generators they made. And those generators not only power the sauna, but we do have an actual FDA Class 2 medical device that is a medical lamp for pain, inflammation, and wound treatment. And it uses the exact same semiconductors that are in the sauna as well. So that band of light is starting to get a lot more research and attention now, because as biohacking is growing, we're starting to clue into how the human body works. And turns out the more we understand how we naturally work, the more we can support that. So that's why there's no warm up time, by the way, folks. I mentioned before that it's warm immediately. It's warm immediately because if any other sauna tried giving you the dosage of energy, as you know, Dr. Porter, when it comes to light therapy, photobiomodulation, it's not the wavelength alone, it's the wavelength and the dosage. How much is there? And so by blocking all of the infrared spectrum except us and our natural spectrum, we can up the dosage and how much energy do we provide you without creating overexposure. So every other sauna has to take 15 to 30 minutes to warm up, because if they tried giving you this much energy in a broad spectrum, it wouldn't feel good. You would trigger inflammation, not soothe it.
And just so those people, when you said ATP, some people might not know what that is who are listening to the broadcast. So ATP, think of it as fuel, like your automobile needs gasoline, your body needs ATP. And what's happening today in our society is almost everything seems to attack our mitochondrial health. And, we get it shows up as inflammation, right? So a lot of people are talking about inflammation as the cause of all disease, but if you really talk about it, it's really mitochondrial health. So tell me how the sauna helps with inflammation, because everybody's wanting a quick silver bullet on how to get rid of inflammation, because, when we measure people, with our neuro check, we do a scan of them. 90% of all people are 60% delta, which tells us that their brain is inflamed, their body is inflamed, and they want to go to sleep, because that's the only way that's the ancient way. Our body's wisdom is saying, hey, go to sleep, we'll heal you, because it needs to get in that parasympathetic state. But we're Americans, so what happens is we go get coffee, tea, and chocolate, and whatever we need, and we keep stimulating and running. So tell us a little bit about how this sauna, especially the Relax saunas, how they help with inflammation.
Yeah. So one of the things they're doing, those heat shock proteins I mentioned before, those a lot of the inflammation is caused because of heavy metals, because of microplastics, because of these foreign elements that are inside our body. It's also caused from metabolic waste, the waste that's just created from our body. Swelling is the metabolic waste of water. The body can't process this water through the kidneys. So one of the ways that it reduces inflammation is through, of course, just those heat shock proteins binding and cleaning up the place. By us sweating, we can reduce inflammation, because sweating in this mode, as I mentioned earlier, that not all sweat is created equal, but when you sweat from a place of parasympathetic, of deep relaxation, you are meditative, you're in theta brainwave pattern, that sweat is wonderfully detoxifying, and that's valuable for inflammation, because we're actually giving our kidneys a break. The only other way to completely bypass your kidneys is through dialysis. So here we're actually bypassing the kidneys entirely, reducing the amount of burden on those kidneys, reducing the amount of burden on our organs. So our organs, the kidneys themselves, can just run a little smoother. They don't have those issues. The other way that it's reducing inflammation And the body is, again, simply through that hormesis of that little bit of stress, gets things moving. Inflammation tends to build up because things get stagnant, right? If the water is stagnant, you're going to attract mosquitoes. It's not the mosquitoes' fault that this pond was stagnant. They're just going to take advantage of it. So bacteria, viruses, you name it, are all going to take advantage of stagnant, poor circulation, poor oxygenation. They're going to thrive in that environment and then do the havoc that they do, creating infections, micro-infections, chronic low-grade fevers, things like that are all created because of this, because of those things. And so innervating them, killing off those bacteria because they can't handle the same level of heat. That's why we get fevers. Fevers are our body's own natural defense mechanism to kill infections, to reduce inflammation. And so that's one. Another way that you can do it is using it to actually, literally raise that core temperature to kill off the bacteria, kill off the viruses and the parasites that are causing inflammation, and then escorting them out of the body. So you don't just have a bunch of dead bacteria floating around your bloodstream, murking things up. And you can do that. That 5-minute reduction in inflammation is immediate. Again, I'm in the first 5 to 7 minutes. We consistently see at these events anywhere from a 50 to 100% reduction in soreness, tension, tightness, pain from people who just hop in this thing for 5 to 7 minutes with their clothes on. Because again, when you just relax the body and you tease it with a fever, right? So if you stay in this for about 10 minutes, it's great for a pre-workout warm-up. You're going to start sweating. Stay in for 20, you're going to have a good sweat. You stay in for 30, it's a full-blown exercise for your organs and you are just dumping buckets. So the brain knows in anticipation of this coming fever that in those first 5 to 7 minutes, the brain says on its own, before I start to sweat, before our core gets really hot, I want to do a few things. I want to activate the parasympathetic and relax the nervous system. I want to get circulation going. I want to get lymphatic going. I want to do these things and prep for the fever. And one of those things is activate the natural anti-inflammatory pathways of the brain and the body. So the brain on its own. So people see this long list of all these things that Relax Saunas does, and they're like, how does it do all that? It doesn't. It does one thing really well. It goes deep into your body everywhere all at once with a high amount of loving, warming energy, and your body does the rest. So that's, on a science note, that's my hypothesis, is that because we are providing the same wavelength of light we emit at such a high dosage everywhere all at once, we're actually tricking the brain. It's a biohack to trick the brain into thinking it's giving itself a fever, which is different than just simply getting hot or having a thermal stress reaction, which is still healthy, but it's different when your brain orchestrates these different things. That's why it's so therapeutic and can reduce inflammation in literally as little as 5 to 7 minutes.
Right. Well, Ryan, I really appreciate all that you've shared. Again, if you go to relaxsaunas.com/BrainTap, put in BrainTap when you go to check out. And if it's before November 30th, you're going to get $200 off the sauna that I personally use every morning. So I love this sauna. And if you're after November 30th, then go ahead and still put in that BrainTap because they're going to give you $100 off. I can tell you right now, it's the best thing that you'll buy. It's one of my hacks that I use every day. And, I have bought one for my daughter. I bought one for my office. I got one for my home because, even though we already had when I met Phil, we already had a sunlight and sauna, which I think they're great for what they do, but it doesn't do the same thing. And if you're working with TBIs and concussions and you're working with brain health, this is the best sauna that you can get. So I can't talk highly enough. So thank you for being a guest today and sharing all of your knowledge. And how can they find out more about Relax Saunas? I know their website, we've mentioned that a few times, but where else can they learn more? Yeah,
relaxsaunas.com is the best place to go. We are in the process of getting a lot more information up on the website. Relaxsaunas.com/superior has a bit of information. Go there. But other than that, just stay tuned because, we're going to be doing a lot more research. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if I'm letting the cat out of the bag, but we're putting together a whole series around using the Relax Sauna with BrainTap at the same time and talking about how the two, so you'll actually be able to do your guided meditations with your BrainTap on in the sauna. And that'll be explaining more about the science of what's happening inside your body. What are you feeling right now? And then other than that, just stay connected with us, because I have a whole series of educational series now that I've finished some of my pilot studies and I've done a lot more research, and I have my full-time science director on board. I'm so excited for that. I'll be freed up to have a lot more educational conversation about that out there. But then lastly, check out our YouTube channel. We have over 800 testimonials and 20 different health conditions on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and search Relax Saunas. You'll find our channel. You can go to relaxsaunas.com/YouTube, and it has like some categories broken out there that you can look at. That's the best way to go. Listen to the users, listen to the experiences these people are having, because you just have to feel this technology to see how different it is. It's amazing. One of those things that you just really need to feel to get a sense of, oh, okay, yeah, that's different. That's a different kind of heat. There's a lot of people who don't like being hot. There's a lot of menopausal women who normally would never get in a sauna, but their friends get in, they get in. People, they immediately realize, oh, this feels like a warm, loving hug. This isn't like normal heat, is it? Nope, it's not like normal heat. This is your heat. If you think this feels good, it's because when you get a warm, loving hug from somebody, the quality of light that they emit into you is exactly what we're emitting. We're emitting that quality of body heat into your body, and it just feels so good. And so I'm so grateful that you love yours. So grateful that you're using it, and really excited for continuing this partnership, because the combination of brain health and viscera health, those two things are a really powerful combination for clearing up the terrain and then clearing up the brain, so the brain has a better terrain to work with. There's an absolute synchronicity between the two.
That's great. And everyone knows we're into light, sound, and vibration. And as Ryan was talking about, we need to get those cells vibrating, teeming with energy, so they can share that potetic energy, so that, we are energy beings transmitting light, receiving light. It's the most underprescribed nutrient on earth today. So let's go ahead and people are in their homes thinking that they're protected. We're not stressing out our physiology enough. And especially in temperature wise, because we're so pampered, we keep our temperatures the same. Our body is used to having these highs and lows and going through the seasons. And this is one of the ways you can get your body back on track the way it was really designed. Your body is designed to heal. Your brain's designed to heal. And this is a technology that I can't speak highly enough. I love how it was designed. I love the people who are involved with the technology. I'm glad that you're involved with them now, Ryan, because they need a voice out there to let people know, because usually he's like BrainTap a little bit, where we just get to events and nobody really knows unless they come to an event and try it out. But I'm going to encourage you all to go to Relax Saunas with an S.com /BrainTap. When you go to check out, you can check out, you're either going to get $200 off, you do that before November 30th, or you're going to get $100 off if it's after that. This is a great Christmas present for the whole family. I mean, because it's one of those things you can set it up. I have mine in my family room. I had somebody come to my house, quite a few people, when they come and visit, they go, wow, you should tell doctors to have everything you have in your family room in their clinic. And I said, yeah, because this is, I don't want to have the excuse. So many people, you either have results or you have excuses. This takes one of the excuses off the table. And I do believe that bringing my body to a sweat, whether I have time for a 10-minute one, like you said, a 20-minute one, or a 30-minute one, even when I have to fly in the morning and I have to get up at 4 a.m, I get up 10 minutes early to do 10 minutes before I get on that airplane. And then, so go check it out. You're not going to be disappointed. Let us know here at BrainTap how you're using your Relax Sauna. Let them know on their YouTube channel, or share with them on social media, because I'm sure not only you, but your family, and like you said, it works with children as well. Anybody can use this because it's working with the healing properties of our body. It's natural. It's normal. It's not something that is synthetic or something you have to worry about having a toxic release. Now, you might want to start out a little slower depending upon your diet and what you've been doing up to this point, so you might want to start with that 10-minute session, and then every week maybe increase it by a minute. When you get up to 30 minutes, I can tell you it's like taking a jet ride. The rest of the day you have so much energy and you feel so good. So again, Ryan, thank you. Is there anything that I forgot to ask you before we end this call today?
I really don't think so. I just want to make sure everybody knows that you mentioned that you travel with it. This thing is portable. It pops up in 2 minutes. It's 18 pounds without the chair. It comes with the chair. But I would just ask that, in terms of how you use this, Like you mentioned, we have ours in the living room here. We have them in multiple places. I have these now in schools, elementary schools. I have these in restaurants. I have these in places you would never see a sauna. Because again, it's so therapeutic without sweat even, right? These 5 to 7 minute intervals. So I just really encourage you, if you get yours, to utilize it, put it somewhere where it's easily accessible. We have handholds on the zipper, so you can be on your phone, you can read a book, you can be on your laptop. There's no excuse. You don't have to wait for it to warm up. You just plug it into any outlet. You have no excuse not to use it. And I would just really encourage everybody to, whether it's with this to get you relaxed, whether it's with the BrainTap, whether it's with breath work, really honor your body's natural ability to perform and then rest and repair. We should not be waking up and running all day long and then crashing. We should have access to technologies like this and the BrainTap that can quickly, easily put us into a rest and repair cycle. Because otherwise, when we wake up and we just perform and we run all day long, the same way we should be getting 3 to 4 good REM cycles of deep sleep each night, if we're not getting 3 to 4 little good 10 to 15 minute breaks throughout the day to get deeply relaxed into our body, we are literally building up metabolic waste, environmental waste, doing real damage, building up inflammation all day long. And that ends up with garbage body. And when you just feel like garbage at the end of the day, it's really hard to do the right thing or even know what the right thing even is at that point anymore. And that's when mental and behavioral health issues become an issue. So get one. Use it as often as you want. Pop in and out all day long. Use it in conjunction with the BrainTap, and just do this throughout the day just to relax your body. And you will feel, aside from the sweat sessions, right? Like Patrick said, you do a 30-minute sweat session, you've got energy all day long. You feel so good. But that combined with just as often as you want, that's the beauty of this, is we can just use it in ways we can't use other saunas. We can just pop in and out. We can time it. But the way that it energizes us, and that's, as you know, that's a big part of my mission here, is the mental health component of things, the behavioral health component of it. How well are we collaborating in life? How well can we just connect as a society and as people? And it's a simple fact of the matter is, how well you feel is going to determine on how well you show up. Your presence when you show up at an event, your presence when you come home from work, your presence when you're with family or friends has everything to do about the terrain and the environment you're creating. So please care for yourself. Get tech tools like this, like the BrainTap, and use them on a regular basis so your body can do what it was designed to do, and just watch how good life gets. And that's a beautiful thing when you see just problems and challenges just melt away on their own. You don't even have to directly address the issue because you feel so good, issues don't even show up.
So thank you, Ryan, with Relax Saunas. And we're going to have all the information in the show notes. So please reach out, check it out, do some educating of yourself. And this is the great gift any time of the year. If you're watching this and it's not the holidays, this is good any time of the year. I don't think I bought mine in during the holidays. I've had it for years, but it's something that you can give yourself a gift every day. So again, thank you, Ryan, for being a guest and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with BrainTap Nation. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Thank you for joining us on our mission to better a billion brains. Follow at Dr. Patrick Porter on social media for updates, and remember to practice brain fitness every day.